Did we see the shortest shorts in Pakistan?
Play the theme music. Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. I'm Alan and I'm here with the ever-enchanted Adam.
That's very sweet of you, mate. You make me sound like something out of a fairy tale.
Something that's been enchanted as opposed to something that is enchanting. I actually could have used either.
But you do think both are appropriate?
I think you could be the ever-enchanting or the ever-enchanted, not to halve the number of available adjectives to me, but I think, enchanted, why not? Why are you enchanted, do you think?
I think because of northern Pakistan. I think because of where we are. I think because of what we've been doing. And unbeknown to me, I didn't realise that this region was so breathtakingly beautiful.
Yeah, and it is breathtaking beauty that is wont to enchant a person, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We finished the last episode where we were hiking the glacier.
Yeah,
otherworldly.
Glacier.
Enchanting, definitely. It's like something out of a fairy tale, I'd say. We had a couple of days to play with, and we tried to squeeze in another recommendation from a good friend of ours, something that most people will tell you to do in this region, which is a little place called Fairy Meadows.
Fairy Meadows. I mean, could a more spellbinding name ever be pitched?
It's not going to be anything other than enchanting, is it? Fairy Meadows. I mean, what does that conjure up for you?
Fairies and meadows, mostly. Fairies are always getting enchanted by stuff, aren't they? Of all the fairy tale creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to respect them because they are eponymous. The fairy tale is named after the fairy.
I'm thinking unicorns as well.
They're in the same family, aren't they?
Yeah, unicorns drinking out of a glimmering stream, going off into the distance through some trees and some woodland, maybe a Disney character, a small deer perhaps.
I used to go, when I was a kid, to a place called Storybook Glen.
Right.
People might...
That's the northern version of Fairy Meadows.
Well, this is what I thought. It used to basically have sort of plastic models of fairy tale characters.
Right.
You know, you might go for a stroll and see a plastic version of the pigs from the wolf blows down their house, you know, that story.
Oh, yeah.
Or you might see, you know, Pinocchio's dad making an old pair of boots or something. And you'd see him and you take pictures with him. Now, I bet it's all smartphones. But back then, you would, you know, wipe off the Polaroids. You'd get a picture of you with a fairy tale character. When I was told you've got to go to Fairy Meadows, these were the kind of things I was expecting. I was expecting to go there to meet Tinkerbell, perhaps.
We knew it was going to be a hell of a job getting there because last episode we were having a fantastic time in Gulkin, amazing little village, great jumping off point to do loads of stuff in the region. And it was a good few hours south. We decided, in typical fashion, to hitchhike the entire way.
Yeah. Stick old thumb to the sky and try and get a ride. I'm quite excited about hitchhiking at the moment. I'm really up on it because Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, one of my favourite books, man.
Yeah, and being a book, obviously the listener will know I know nothing about it because it's a book.
It's basically like a real cult classic about these guys. His house is about to get destroyed by an intergalactic highway, and in order to escape that destruction, he thumbs a ride with a local spaceship.
Okay.
And chaos ensues. But I really like the idea of this sort of vagabonding nature. Jack Kerouac, one of my travel heroes, also just thumbed his way across America.
I should read that book, shouldn't I?
Yeah, these are some recommendations for travellers out there. Hitchhiker's Guide and On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Some great hitchhiking novels set in various planets.
Just talking about the process involved in hitchhiking, the optimism going into it, the mindset, and the sort of approach that you need. For some reason, and I think that's probably because of where we've been and how lucky we've been, how fortunate we've been to meet the people we've met, I thought that we would potentially stick our thumb out in Gulkin and get someone going to the exact location that we wanted to go to, which was a few hours south, wasn't it? I mean, it would have been incredibly lucky.
We've had such success with the old hitchhiking that I've come to expect extraordinary things. Yeah. We've developed a little technique, haven't we, for hitchhiking?
Yeah, a bit of good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. We stick a thumb out, and I sort of make eye contact with the driver and go like, Hey,
come on
you
now.
know that you want to.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to pick us up. And sometimes I've noticed a hesitant driver will stop once he sees you go, come on.
We just paint a picture for the listener. We don't have a board with where we're going on.
No.
We are just very simply standing by the side of the road. Big smiles. I would
Big
reckon.
smiles.
I'm not an expert by any means. I'm sure there are lots of amazing resources out there for people who do want to hitchhike. But we are just literally sitting by the side of the road with our thumbs out and hoping that any person picks us up. So a lot more people stop than take us. Fair to say?
Yeah.
And they like a little chit chat.
I'd say we have a 60% success rate on stopping a car.
Yeah.
And maybe it's difficult to assess the success rate on actually getting the lift because once you're in.
Yeah.
Once you're in, you're in.
You're in. We went from Gulkin down to Aliabad in one hit. Lovely old gentleman who stopped after about 2 minutes and picked up a spade and dug out a trench because water was logging his property. Do you remember that?
Yep. I like to let you be in charge of conversation when we're hitchhiking.
Cool.
Oftentimes I take a proactive approach in getting the car to stop.
Yeah. But then immediately take the back seat.
Yeah. I'd say I've done at least 50% of the work getting the vehicles secured.
Yeah.
Maybe less than 10% of the work in terms of conversation once in the vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, am I wrong to assume that the person would want to engage in conversation?
No, I think you do the right thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I like that you take control of that because I think you're enchanting.
Right.
I think it's lovely. I think you're just less polarizing than I am.
That might be true. But the thing I love about this podcast specifically is because I don't know on which other travel podcast people are talking about the dynamic within a car when you have just got in a stranger's car. That's not something that every person listening to this podcast will have experienced.
It's not a reference point that's relatable, but we don't care about relatability on tripology. So but it's interesting to me, like my psychology going into it is, I think they're either going to fucking love me in this car or they're going to really strongly dislike me. Right. It's best to leave that energy on the back seat because you can't be rolling the dice on a love-hate relationship when you're trapped in a car with someone for anything from 10 minutes to, hours and hours. So I let you.
Yeah.
I know they're going to like you.
Okay.
Maybe they're going to love you.
It's less risk, isn't it?
But they're definitely not going to hate you. Get him in the front seat.
Get him in the front seat. Get him to do the talking. This old man, sweet old man, took us all the way down to Aliabad. That's where he was stopping. And then we got out in Aliabad. And then do you remember we were hitchhiking down the road, sort of walking backwards, trying to get people's eye, as you were saying earlier. And then we came across another pair of rival hitchhikers. And that got a little bit awkward because you don't want to cramp their style or ruin their chances, but you also want to hitchhike more quickly than they are because very rarely is one car going to pull up with one guy driving and say, actually, I'll take all of you.
And as is always the case when you meet a rival, it adds a little bit of pressure, competitive edge, doesn't it? Yeah. I thought, what does it say about us? If we see them whizzing past in a car, they were just better on that day.
Maybe, yeah. Different technique. I mean, they didn't look like they were as interested, perhaps, as we were. We did the courteous thing. And
amateurs.
We went further down the road than they were standing because I didn't want us to come in and then nick a car that would have potentially taken them.
That's bad hitchhiking etiquette, isn't it?
I think so.
Undercut them, if we stood 100 meters like further closer to where the cars were coming and like stitched them up.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been fair.
Do that.
So we went further than they were, maybe a couple of 100 meters, and then who should pull up but two really sweet little kids.
I mean, of driving age. When Adam says little kids, he means maybe early 20s, about to go to university, driving a car. It wasn't.
Hang on, I'm 35 next week. I'm a different generation.
Yeah.
They were definitely old enough to drive. We didn't check their licenses.
Yeah, one of them had a beard. I mean, you say little kids makes it sound like they pulled up in one of those tomy little diggers. Yeah, okay, they were like young
chaps, really sweet guys, and they said we're going all the way to Gilgit, which was a massive chunk of our journey. Get in the back, and it was amazing, wasn't it? It was so fortuitous, and we had a lot of fun with those guys.
Really good, and so great. They dropped us off all where we needed to go. Even got us on the next little bus.
Yeah, walked us to the the little ticket stand there at some bus terminal and basically just orchestrated everything for us in Urdu and helped us out. It was amazing.
Yeah. And then we are on a bus all the way to Fairy Meadows. And only 10 minutes into the episode, we've finally arrived.
Finally arrived at Fairy Meadows. And that's when it got a little bit tasty, didn't it? Because we had been told... We'd been told that at Rycott Bridge, which is where you then get a Jeep up to Fairy Meadows.
It's a jumping off point.
It's a jumping off point. Very, very easy. Loads of Jeeps taking people up. And we didn't really know the system. We sort of thought we've probably got enough cash. Now that we've managed to get money out of an ATM, we've probably got enough cash to pay for a private Jeep at the very least. So the pressure's off, isn't it?
The pressure was off, but I still don't understand the system to this day, right? So basically, there's a plethora of Jeeps available. We got out of the car. We were lucky enough to have met a German couple on the drive up.
She was French.
So we thought she was French, but she lived in Germany.
So split hairs.
Don't split hairs. They were a German couple. They were a couple that predominantly felt German. So we thought, well, that's great. We can get a car. We can split. That's reduced our cost in half.
Yeah,
we're an English couple. They're a German couple. And then pulling up, I spotted him well before anyone else, I think.
Yeah, what was it gave it away?
It was just like a white flash going past. The unmistakable Caucasian, like, just feeling kind of washed all over us. He whisked past. He got out of the car. It was a very tall American man. Very, I will say, short shorts.
Yeah. They were short. I've been known to wear short shorts, so I mean, they caught my eyes.
Yeah.
I thought a man after my own heart.
And I said, if he has the nous to pull those shorts down, I'm willing to get in the Jeep with him.
If he pulls his shorts down?
If he pulls his shorts down, not down like that.
Oh, sorry. Oh, right. Okay.
Down to cover his knees.
Oh,
I felt it was a little bit risque for Pakistan.
As long as the waistband stays where it is.
Yes.
But then pull the, sorry, right.
Keep the shorts on vertically, but maybe lower to past the knee, then I'm sure we can incorporate him into the group, and then we'll be able to go in a Jeep. And then instead of one private car, we've now got 5 individuals. It's going to be a cheap ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when you spend so much time in Pakistan that you see another Westerner wearing something and go, blimey.
Yeah, I'm not being judgmental.
I'm not sure that's...
but after being here a while, you see someone with shorts riding high and you go, that person, what do they mean by it? So yeah,
it's amazing. So we all jumped in the Jeep, and there was a level of disorganization, a lack of urgency. It was a bit strange, but we managed to get in the Jeep together.
Just about
crammed
in. We was
with all the bags.
Yep.
We had the least amount of luggage. That's fine. But
do you feel proud about it?
Not proud, but all I'm saying is if other people had the same amount of luggage as we did, there would have been enough room in the Jeep for everyone.
I thought Germans were efficient packers. I'm French.
No, it was really good fun. I remember being squished in the back next to you, and we were having a couple of photos taken of us, weren't we? And then we had given... So can we just talk about this system, by the way? Because the system is so fucking mental. I can't believe no one mentioned it to us before we went.
I would like you to use this opportunity to vent.
Okay. So we were told that there was a Jeep ride from Rycott Bridge to get up to Fairy Meadows. We were told by people that had recently been, it would be about an hour and a half, and then there was another 2-hour or so trek from the Jeep drop-off point to Fairy Meadows. That all sounds pretty straightforward. No one mentioned the price of the Jeep or this crazy fucked up system that the guys down there are running. It's 10,000 rupees to get up there.
For the Jeep total. So split for us now 5 ways.
Yes. 10,000 up there and 6,000 back, assuming that you order a return ticket.
Which you have to do. And they don't issue a ticket.
No.
They assign you a driver.
And they hope that you take a photo and a video of the driver and take his number so that you can arrange your transport the next day if anything goes wrong. And then when you get dropped off at the top, they ask you to pick the exact time you're going to be back at the drop-off point so that the same driver can bring you back.
Knowing that you're going to be spending time at Fairy Meadows hiking around. You've got to plan perfectly so that your descent matches the time that you've given the driver. And you've got to be coming back with the group you're going with,
Yeah,
which in our situation included a French-German hybrid couple from the future and a man with shorts that were catastrophically short. So the reliability factor for our group, I mean, it was all over the shop. There was no chance we were all going to be at the same place the next day.
There's no way he's coming back. I can't believe he's made it this far.
Yeah, he's not wearing any pants.
So yeah, I don't know if I've made that system sound as crazy as it is, but there was a bit of a melee, wasn't there? We were trying to work out what the price was, if we could just pay for the way up so that it gave us a bit of flexibility on the way back. And they said, no, it's going to be 10,000 in both directions if you just do it one way. And they were adamant. They said, are you traveling together? Well, you're like, no, we've just met. Now
we're in love. We like each other.
Do you know what I felt like? I'm getting a bit loose now, but I felt like we were just the 5 white people that were at the bottom of the hill and they just lumped us in one car.
I felt like that as well, and I liked it. Go on then, we will go.
Sure,
they were like, you
not?
must be friends. You're all from the same basic geographical area.
And then this Jeep ride is crazy. We're going to talk about the Jeep ride down on the way back, on the back half of the episode. But we got up to this point, and then it got even more weird because there was a block in the road, wasn't there?
There was a block in the road, and they said to get past this block, it's an extra $2,000 now. That's about how many dollars?
2006.
$6.
6, 7, 8.
Get past the block. Different Jeep, by the way. Swap Jeeps.
Yeah.
And then, don't worry, it's only going to be 4,000 now because the 16,000 rupee price to get up and down. 16,000 rupees is how much?
Oh, I really don't know.
So they're like $15.
Fuck it. Yeah, $15, $20.
They say it's going to be, up and down now, but that's a fix. But now it's 4,000 because you paid the extra 2.
Yeah, so it's going to be only 4,000 from the very top Jeep point that you haven't even reached yet, all the way down to the bottom. And we were like, are you sure this isn't going to cause problems tomorrow?
Because you're eating into your 16,000 total, right?
Yeah.
Slowly. So, yeah, I mean, will it cause problems tomorrow? The eternal question that will be answered after the meditation break. Like a pair of shorts, slowly being pulled down the thigh toward the knee. Allow your conscious mind to return into your brain. Adam, we've made it to Fairy Meadows.
Thank goodness.
Fairy Meadows Jeep Station.
Yeah. There was a Pakistani landslide, which seems to be a running theme throughout this trip. We've seen a fair few landslides, haven't we?
I've seen more landslides than I have other travellers.
I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
I think that's probably fair. We walked across the section that was being rebuilt, and then we managed to get into another Jeep, and that second ride was only about 20 minutes, wasn't it? That was fine.
Yeah, easy.
And then we were dropped off at the bottom. We were met by, I would say, probably 50 horses.
50 horses that all seemed very eager to take us up the mountain for a price.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, they had handlers, people that were saying...
They were communicating what the horses wanted, though, I felt. Look, this horse wants to take you. It's $30 to get up the hill. Will you oblige?
Yeah, I mean, this is another sort of instance where I thought a little bit more communication, we might have made a different decision. Because I knew from talking to people previously who had been on this trip, it was about an hour and a half, 2 hours trek up the hill. I didn't know that it was pretty steep. I didn't realise how heavy my bag now was. I didn't realise how tired I was going to be. And I didn't realise we were getting there so late that it started to go dark.
Started going dark very quickly upon the commencement of the hike. And I really, honestly, I thought it was like we'd arrive, we'd taken a Jeep to Fairy Meadows, 20-minute walk.
Yeah.
And then we'd find a little place to sleep for the night, and then we'd do our main hike the next day.
Could I tell what I would do if I was one of those horse handlers and there were some struggling backpackers with their luggage, and I would probably say, would you like this horse? You can ride it and we'll put your bag on the back and we'll take you all the way up. It's going to take about half an hour to get to the top. And if the person said no, I would say, just to let you know, it is getting dark and it's much more difficult than you think. It is going to take 2 hours and you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah, you guys have just hiked Patundas 24 hours ago. You've got blisters on your feet. You're ill prepared for the hike. The one of the Germans is being sick. He's got food poisoning. You're not wearing the appropriate leggings at all.
You just spent an hour and a half in a Jeep that was really unenjoyable because it was so bloody rocky.
I would recommend you maybe get a pony, take yourself up in due time. But no, we proceeded. The group fractured into a million pieces.
Yeah, there was this weird kind of polite off, wasn't there, where it was like, you can go ahead if you want, and we were like, no, we'll stay because that's the right thing to do.
Guys, my shorts are falling down, I'm going to take a break. Oh, I'm feeling sick. It was a real mess. So we all broke off, and me and Adam just went into the night.
Yeah, we just marched off, and I remember us having a conversation with each other, and we said, we can do this is no problem. And then it quickly descended into nightfall in the middle of the woods,
and by moonlight we just went for it, didn't we?
We did.
My feet were falling apart, ripped apart by Patundus. We hiked for maybe, how long did it take us? 2 hours?
Yeah, I always said it was 2 hours. Yeah, it was 2 hours.
There was one point, and I've not brought it up to you yet in private, where we both screamed going up the hill. Do you remember? We kind of went, come on, because we were hungry, we were tired.
We were doing all this on breakfast, weren't we?
We had no lunch because we thought it was a 20-minute walk.
It was just egg and paratha. And then we did the whole thing. God, we were so hungry and my stomach was eating itself. Not what you want to be hiking on, really. And then we finally, as a 3, because old mate had caught us up.
Shorts man.
Yeah.
He pulled them up. He catched us. He was fast hiker.
He was. Amazing guy.
Yeah. I love him.
I love him. And we all reached the top. We reached Fairy Meadows. Everyone was trying to get us into their hotels, weren't they? I didn't realise. Did you realise how built up it was going to be?
Considering we walked for 2 hours in the dark, it was difficult to anticipate there was going to be anything other than a beautiful... I really did imagine Fairy Meadows was going to be this pictures. I thought we were going to get to the top.
Yeah.
And it was like da 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 da. Little, yaks dancing in the moonlight. I thought it was going to be a beautiful thing.
Is that a unicorn?
Yeah, but what it is a unicorn. But what it was quite a lovely flat piece of ground.
Yeah.
That people had stacked like Monopoly players, hotels all over it, and then proceeded to be accosted for the first time in Pakistan.
Has to be said. Yeah.
Accosted to come to my hotel.
Yeah.
Perhaps, sir, you'd like to come to my hotel.
This is the one you want. This is good food, cheap price, all that kind of stuff. So not too dissimilar to like chalets you might find in mountain towns, ski resorts, that kind of stuff. We're not talking about an enormous town. I mean, there's probably less than 50 buildings, I would have said. Some of them...
For the top of a hill, that's a lot.
It is. But you don't have to worry, basically. If you are going to Fairy Meadows, just turn up. You will have accommodation.
You definitely. Don't book in advance.
No.
It's very available.
But we found somewhere that was very affordable.
Found a nice little place, didn't we? You let me have the double bed, which I was very grateful for. It was a double and a single. Adam, take the double, mate. Yeah. I lay diagonally across it.
Yeah, and I was grateful that you used it the way that it should be used, which is the diagonal.
Some people get a double bed and they stick to one half of it. So it's essentially a single bed at that point.
Yeah, that would have felt like a real kick in the teeth if you'd done it. If I'd woken up halfway through the night and I saw you were just in less space than a single bed, I would have been like, for fuck's sake.
So I lay horizontally in homage to your sacrifice.
Yeah.
And the next morning, we set out and hiked, didn't we?
Yeah, all the way up to, do you remember the name of the point?
It was called German Viewpoint.
I'll tell you what wasn't at the top.
There was 2 viewpoints, Pakistani viewpoint and German viewpoint. The Pakistanis, they stopped at the first viewpoint and said, this is a beautiful view. The German hikers proceeded further, and that's why they got to name the second, slightly higher viewpoint. And it has to be said, I think it was a nice view and a nice hike. But having previously done Patundus...
So recently as well.
The day before... I think Fairy Meadows sort of paled in comparison a little bit.
Yeah,
it's not that I was disappointed.
Yeah,
but I was not surprised. I just thought it was a little bit. It was a little bit lacking because we've seen Patundus so amazing.
Yeah, which is a more spectacular, brighter, whiter glacier.
Yeah, more challenging walk.
Yeah.
I would say if you don't have time to do Patundus, do Fairy Meadows.
Yeah, it's also less busy, Patundus.
But if you've done Patundus, you don't have to do Fairy Meadows, in my opinion.
Or, maybe important to say, if you do want to do both, do Fairy Meadows first.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the way you
little training hike if you're feeling unfit.
Yeah, it's not... Well, hang on. Talking about the Everest region, though, you can go clockwise or anti-clockwise, can't you?
In Everest, you can.
Yeah.
In Three Passes track, you mean?
So, yes, in Three Passes specifically. So it is quite interesting that the order in which you do things can change your experience of it. I mean, that sounds obvious to say, but in how sort of awestruck you are.
Yeah, totally. And I wonder if you'd have had the altitude sickness in Patundus if you'd had a little shot of it up at Fairy Meadows.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. It's interesting. The hike, though, to get there is more of a walk, I would have said, to German viewpoint. Yeah. It is lovely.
Yeah.
It is enchanting. It does feel like a fairy tale. There are little streams. It is incredibly green and lush. There's the odd cow. No unicorns.
Is that an odd cow? No, that's a unicorn.
Is that the best joke on the podcast ever? That's class. Well done. But yeah, there's some moss over some rocks, as you might expect.
Yeah, it's a fairy meadow, quite literally.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, all of this nice shit was I was being distracted from it by the fact that my feet were blowing open like a proverbial duffel bag at this point. I had blisters. They were basically, I have really good shoes, but at this point they've survived Everest.
Yeah.
They've survived a bunch of crazy hikes all over Sri Lanka and India.
Yeah.
They've just been my day-to-day city shoes for
They have
nearly a year. There's holes in them.
Yeah.
Where the holes are, they're causing blisters. So I was limping by the end of this walk, and we limped our way, quick, sharp, all the way back down to the Jeep station.
Which we knew was a risk.
Yes.
Because of the previous day. We had agreed a time of 5 p.m. and we were told that our driver would be waiting for us at the Jeep spot at 5 p.m.
And we'd seen Shortsman. He was proceeding up the mountain. We'd seen the Germans. There was sick everywhere. So we knew we were going to be the only ones at the Jeep station at 5.
And I remember thinking the day before, this system that they're running, where, it's got to be the same group and there's a specific time, surely that would mean when you factor in a 2-hour hike, which has variables, of course, you're not always going to leave at the same time. Some people in the group might be slower than others. To time the hike of 2 hours exactly so that you reach the Jeep stop point, either it might result in a load of Jeeps and drivers waiting around for groups, or it might result in hikers waiting around for drivers.
In reality, there was both.
There was
hikers
both.
waiting for Jeeps and Jeeps waiting for hikers, all stuck there at the bottom of the mountain.
You might have thought that in this day and age, there could have been some sort of communication between all the parties, and the Jeeps that were there could have taken the hikers that were there down the mountain.
Yeah. I guess at this point, I think it's important to say there was a little bit of a moral dilemma at play. Because it quickly became apparent that our driver was not there and wouldn't be there for hours.
Correct.
We kind of thought, well, that's fine. The Germans or the Shortsman can get the driver that we came with. That's okay. He'll be there for them.
Yeah, we thought that they were just going to, we assumed that they would, because we knew for a fact that they were behind still on the mountain.
Yeah.
They'll still get the 5 o'clock with our driver. That's fine with us.
But no Jeep would take us knowing that we'd had another driver. No, they would say, well, where's your driver? No, we don't have a driver. The driver's not here.
Yeah.
We want to come down with you. No, you need to go with your driver. Show us a picture of your driver. Show us a video of your driver. Show us, have you got him on Facebook, Instagram, maybe your driver, show us some evidence of this driver.
Yeah.
So we couldn't get a Jeep down.
No.
So we told what I would call a little tiny white lie.
It's very small.
We said we walked up. There is no driver.
Mm-hmm.
They said, you walked up. I said, I know. Look at my shoes. There's holes in them because I walk so much. And
It was a little porky.
Yeah.
But I think a fine one to try and get over that first hurdle. In our heads, important to say, we thought we've got 4,000 rupees in cash. Yeah. We were told yesterday that is the price of getting all the way down the mountain. Yep. Surely there's going to be a Jeep here that can take us all the way down for 4,000 rupees. That could not have been further from the truth.
So a group that were headed down took responsibility for us. You explained the situation to them, and they said, that who I very much thought was the leader of the group, ponytail guy, he said,
handsome chap,
you're my UK brothers, I'll take responsibility for you. He loaded our bags into the Jeep.
Yes.
We all got in. And we proceeded down the mountain with them.
Yeah.
They asked us all sorts of questions. Where are you from? What football team do you support? What is your profession? The kind of questions that we love to be asked. I was having a whale of a time in the Jeep with them.
Yeah, it was good.
I thought, this is great. This is perfect. We've hustled it. We're going down. The worst thing that could possibly happen happened.
Second worst.
Okay. We'll debate it. Someone stopped the Jeep in front and said, something's happened. They stopped the car. And it was revealed to me, unbeknownst to anyone in the car, that my bag, lucky, a satchel that's been with me for now 10 years and traversed 6 continents, more than 60 countries, had fallen out of the Jeep.
Yeah, it was a rough spot to be in.
Now, I love this bag more than I love most people. I would say there's maybe 5 people in the world who top this bag. I was mortified.
Yeah.
I panicked. I was like, where the fuck is my bag? Where is he? And it was handed, and they were like, they just brought it.
Yeah,
dusty...
Well, it was actually the Jeep behind had picked it up and then driven it to us.
A dusty bag.
Yeah. I mean, I could sense that you were enraged and in panic, very upset.
I didn't say anything for the rest of the journey.
No.
Because I was like, how could this happen?
Mm.
You know, I trusted my bag to the Jeep. All the bags were put into the Jeep. One bag fell out of the Jeep. I couldn't believe it because what happened was it must have just fallen out onto the road.
Yeah.
There was no damage to the bag. It was fine. But it could have been so much worse. It could have fallen down. We're on a very steep mountain road with a big ravine.
Yeah.
What would have happened if it fell down with everything? There would have been no podcast out the next week.
Yeah. I mean, this road, I am so amazed that no one told us how dangerous this road is. I know you've done similar, probably in South America and also in Everest region, but the drivers drive, in my opinion, faster than they should.
Yeah.
And I think also your experience, the experience you have changes depending on where you're sitting in the Jeep. So I was on the right-hand side going down, which meant I was almost hanging over the edge for the entire 1.5, 2 hours that we were going down.
Over the ravine.
It is definitely far more scarier than any roller coaster on planet Earth. And it got to a point where the guys that were there, who were lovely, by the way, we really appreciate their help, were talking to the driver, and he was like looking round over his shoulder at them to answer their questions. And I like passive aggressively was like, can we just let him drive?
Yeah.
Because our life's on the line.
Our bags are on the line.
Bags are on the line. But yeah, lucky by name, lucky by nature.
Yeah, he was okay.
If it was my bag, maybe it would have gone down the mountain.
Yep. Well, your bag, not known for its luck, not named as accordingly. It was a dangerous ride.
It was.
And, you know, all the usual things happened. The tyre popped on the way we had to replace it. We got down to the mountain eventually with all our bags, our sanity and our safety.
Yeah, feeling quite relieved.
Who was there? At the bottom of the hill. You'll never guess.
It was the one person that we weren't expecting to see because it was circa 4:45 in the afternoon, which was the time we had agreed.
I'll give you 1 second to think of it, tripological audience. It was the driver that we'd had the previous day. He wasn't there to pick up the Germans or the American.
No, he should have been 2 hours up the mountain where we had just left, picking up the rest of our group.
And he raised his hands like, what are you guys doing here? No, sir. What are you doing here? And then, of course, our lie that we'd walked up was exposed.
It was. It all came it was unravelled, wasn't it?
It was.
All came undone.
And a fracas ensued.
Yeah, it was really awkward, actually, to be fair, wasn't it? All jokes aside, it was quite awkward. Because what had happened previously was when we were up the top of the mountain, I had said, there was one guy that spoke quite good English. I said, if we need to get a private vehicle because all the cars are full, we're happy to pay 8,000 rupees to get a private car down. Now, what had happened without us knowing, really, was that the guy that I told had arranged for us to go in this car that we did go down with, but said they're willing to pay you 8,000 rupees on top of the price that the driver had already been paid. So it wasn't a free ride. We're not against paying for things, obviously.
Obviously we're not. It was a confusing situation, wasn't it? Yeah. We ended up forking out an additional 8,000 in addition to the 12,000 that we'd paid 2/5 of the previous day. So it was all a bit confusing.
It was a big melee. There was an argument in the streets between it seemed like everyone but us.
No one knew what was happening, but in the end, we basically said thanks to the guys, paid the 8,000, shook hands, parted ways.
Our driver was just sort of
perplexed.
And I think he did get shouted at by management or something like that, but he didn't have a leg to stand on, obviously.
The moral of the story, I would say, is always wear the appropriate length shorts. Never lie when you're traveling. Never go to Fairy Meadows past nightfall. And always, always make sure your bag is sufficiently lucky before pursuing a journey. And it was luck, and luck alone, that would propel us on the next step of our adventure, because there, post-argument at the side of the road, we decided, we hatched a plan to try to get to Islamabad that night. But tripology, Fairy Meadows to Islamabad, what an incomprehensibly long and difficult distance. I agree with you, tripology audience, but we have a little secret weapon between us, and that is, as mentioned at the forefront of the episode, the old thumb, the old hitchhiker's gift, the old charisma of Adam there on my right. And we thought, let's pursue that charisma to its logical conclusion and embark on a crazy hitchhiking adventure, the contents of which we will share with you next week on Tripology. And my goodness, is it a hell of a story? If you have a hell of a story, email us, tripologypodcast@gmail.com, or you can interact with us on Instagram @tripologypodcast.
Next, we're going to go to the Lost and Found section on patreon.com/tripologypodcast, where we do a little relaxed one.
It's a bonus section at the end of the episode. Once the theme music ends, things go all crazy. You can find it there, and also it comes out 24 hours early, which is an hell of a bonus, isn't it?
Good.
If you're on a Friday thinking, God, I can't sleep, Tripology comes out tomorrow. Tripology could be coming out today if you just went to Patreon.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, mate.
Let's hitchhike all the way to Islamabad.
I'll see you there.
Bye.